Okay, so let's get right into it. On February 28th, a conflict that had been simmering for a long time finally boiled over into open warfare. The United States and Israel launched a massive military operation against Iran, and it's already completely changing the security landscape of the Middle East. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how this happened, what the stated goals are, and what the immediate fallout looks like.
According to sources at the Pentagon, the official code name for this whole attack is Operation Epic Fury. I mean, the name alone tells you so much, right? It signals the immense scale and the decisive intent behind this from the very beginning. This was never going to be just a limited strike. It was designed for maximum impact.
All right, so let's dive into the first part, the massive attack on Iran itself. The opening moments of this operation were incredibly swift and, frankly, overwhelming. Let's take a look at how this direct military confrontation got started and how it brought a decisive end to any recent diplomatic efforts.
U.S. officials were pretty quick to lay out the initial details. So what we know is that this is a joint U.S.-Israeli effort, and they're attacking from both the air and the sea. And this isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a multi-day operation. In fact, former President Trump called it a massive combat operation with the one stated goal of eliminating security threats from Iran.
Okay, so after an attack like that, what happens next? Well, Iran's retaliation, and they did not wait around. Almost immediately, the conflict escalated from a targeted strike on Iranian soil to a full-blown regional firestorm. Let's dig into how Tehran unleashed its own military across the Middle East.
And Iran's powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, they didn't mince words. This was their vow. As they launched their very first wave of missiles and drones in retaliation, they made their intentions perfectly clear. This was just the beginning of a long counter-offensive.
You know, the sheer breadth of the retaliation is just staggering. Iranian officials told Reuters that all U.S. facilities in the region are now considered to be in range, and reports started flooding in that confirmed this. A U.S. Fifth Fleet facility in Bahrain was hit. Loud explosions were heard in Abu Dhabi, and Qatar managed to intercept a wave of incoming missiles. So in just a matter of hours, the conflict zone widened dramatically.
So, this brings us to the big question, right? Why now? What are the justifications being given for an attack of this magnitude? Let's take a look at the specific objectives that U.S. and Israeli leaders have laid out so we can understand their reasoning.
In a social media post, former President Donald Trump really framed this operation as a defensive measure. The core justification he presented was that this was preemptive to eliminate what he called an imminent threat and to keep Americans safe.
And he broke it down even further. The explicit military goals include stopping Iran from ever getting a nuclear weapon and completely destroying its missile industries. He also pointed to Iran's alleged recent attempts to rebuild its nuclear program and even referenced historical grievances all the way back to the 1979 hostage crisis. He's really framing this as the final answer to a standoff that's been going on for decades.
Then you have Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and his statement adds another layer to all of this. He framed the military action not just as a security measure, but as a catalyst for internal change inside Iran, kind of echoing this theme of liberation for the Iranian people.
And that theme became incredibly explicit. In a video message, Donald Trump spoke directly to the people of Iran. He urged them to stay safe during the bombing, but then he added, "When our operation is over, take over your government. It is yours." I mean, that is a direct public call for regime change.
An operation on this scale, well, it inevitably comes at a high cost. So now let's look at the reported outcomes of the initial strikes, focusing on both the strategic targets and, of course, the confirmed human toll.
Israeli officials confirmed that they were aiming for the very top of Iran's leadership. We're talking Supreme Leader Khamenei and President Pezeshkian. However, and this is a big however, they could not confirm if these specific attacks were actually successful. There were earlier reports suggesting Khamenei had already been moved to a secure, undisclosed location. So while the top leadership status is unknown, there were confirmed kills at the highest levels of Iran's military. Sources close to the regime, plus reporting from NBC News, confirmed the deaths of the defense minister and a key IRGC commander. Iran's own foreign minister acknowledged that multiple other commanders had also been killed.
Now, a deeply concerning report came out of Iran's Tasnim news agency, which claimed an Israeli airstrike hit a girls' school. This is a huge claim, but it's absolutely vital to note that news agencies like Reuters could not independently verify it at the time of the report.
Okay, so this whole operation didn't just come out of nowhere. According to Israeli military officials, Epic Fury was really the culmination of months of coordinated planning and escalating tensions, especially after all the diplomatic options just faded away.
Yeah, This timeline really shows how deliberate the lead-up was. This operation follows a smaller joint attack last June. After that, formal planning for this much larger campaign began. The final date was locked in weeks ago, leading directly to the events that are unfolding right now.
So why did diplomacy fail? Well, it came down to a few core disagreements. Israel demanded the complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Period. Iran was willing to discuss limits on its program, but only in exchange for sanctions relief. The ultimate deal-breaker, though, was that Iran flatly refused to include its ballistic missile program in any nuclear negotiations.
And so we are left with this central, critical question. The stated goal is to empower the Iranian people to forge a new destiny. But can an operation of this magnitude actually achieve that without triggering a much wider, more devastating regional war? That is the answer the entire world is now waiting for.